time. Hisuian Lilligant is going to pack one heck of a wallop. It's a physically oriented version of the Lilligant that we all know and love. And like Lilligant having access to Quiver Dance, Hisuian Lilligant has its own signature move called Victory Dance, which is basically a physical version of Quiver Dance, which means you get a speed boost, an attack boost, and a defense boost. That's nice. So, Hisuian Lilligant is a grass fighting type, meaning it's, unlike the regular Lilligant, it's a dual typing here. So we have a bit of a different type breakdown than regular Lilligant. As a grass fighter, we have access to dark, grass, water, electric, ground, and rock resistances. And then we're weak to fire, poison, ice, psychic, and fairy. And then we have a 4 times weakness to flying. Now, defensively speaking, I didn't realize that grass fighting had as many resistances as it does. I knew about the weaknesses, but it's quite nice to see all those resistances there because those are all mostly common coverage typings there. So to be able to resist all those is rather nice, especially since we are kind of on the glacier side with Hisuian Lilligant. It is nice to know that we might have a chance of living against some of these attacks, especially if we take some of them on the physical side because of Victory Dance. Now, as far as abilities go, we have Chlorophyll, so we can double our speed in the sun. We have Hustle, which is the only ability that Hisuian Lilligant has that Lilligant doesn't, because regular Lilligant has own tempo instead, or own tempo. But anyways, with Hustle, our attack stat is increased by a 50% boost at the cost of some accuracy, reducing them to 80%. So on moves that can't miss, that's a really nice ability, like moves like Aerial Ace or, in Dynamax, where basically any max move couldn't miss. Really awesome ability. In a non-Dynamax format, that's a little bit on the riskier side, but I digress. You could make a case for doing it if you wanted to, but you're probably going to want to run Chlorophyll. Also, Leaf Guard, I'm sorry, but Leaf Guard is probably not ever getting used on this. And what Leaf Guard does is it protects the user from status conditions when the sun is activated. That's it. So it's kind of nice to be able to go fast and become the Turbo Flower with Chlorophyll here. So what am I thinking here? Well, we want to hit things, and we want to hit them really hard. As far as our stat breakdown goes, we have 70 HP, 105 attack, which is wonderful, 75 in each defense, which is okay-ish. We have 50 special attack, which we don't really care about, and then we have 105 speed. So as a Chlorophyll mon, we're going to go extremely fast as soon as we get some sun on the field, and that's rather nice. Plus, we could make the case for using Hustle instead of Chlorophyll because we do have access to Victory Dance, which, as I mentioned, it is a physical variant to Quiver Dance, so we still get our speed boost in addition to our attack and defense. And I understand why they restricted this move only to Hisuian Lilligant, because this is going to be an extremely strong move. So some things that we can do here with this is we can go max attack investment on a Jolly Nature to hit 157. We're going to be boosting our attack with Victory Dance anyways, so it's okay that it's not as high as you would initially like it to be. And then with the rest of our breakdown, we have a little bit of an interesting dynamic. So with the Jolly Nature, we only need 132 points invested into our speed to hit 156. Now, the nice thing here is once the sun is up, we can actually outspeed a booster energy speed increased Iron Bundle. That's extremely fast because Iron Bundle hits like something like 309 once it has a boost, and we're going to hit 312 with this. So we outspeeded by a couple of points, and that is really important because Iron Bundle is weak to grass types and fighting types, and because booster energy being the item that would increase the speed, it's got no focus sash. Now, if you're playing on electric terrain, then you might have to err on the side of caution in case the bundle potentially does have a focus sash. But if you don't see that booster energy activate, that's a nice sign right there. Now, similarly enough, you can also get Fluttermane taken care of this way as well, especially where Fluttermane's physical defense isn't as high as Bundle. You could do a really good amount of damage to Fluttermane with this thing, especially if you have a Victory Dance already secured, or even a Swords Dance for that matter. Like, you don't necessarily have to go Victory Dance, but for this idea, we're going to go with Victory Dance so that we're getting a +1 into our defense as well. Because while 75 is not the most durable, having that boost to our defense could make us handle some physical threats a little bit better than we normally would. And that's why we have 116 defense investment into Lilligant right there to hit 110. We basically took one extra point for our HP and special defense, and then we dumped the remaining 116 into our defense to hit 110. So the idea here is we get a 50% boost at +1. We get that boost to our speed, our attack, and our defense. Now we're going to be relatively bulkier on the physical side. Hisuian Lilligant can take care of things like Great Tusk, Baxcalibur, maybe. It can dent a lot of things that would otherwise resist grass type stab with close combat. And the other thing too is you don't necessarily have to run close combat as well. The main reason why I have close combat here is it's just an absolute ballistic missile of a move right there with 120 stab right there. But you could also run other moves here instead of close combat. You could run Ice Spinner if you wanted to get rid of terrain. If indeed he's going to be a problem, you can get rid of terrain with Ice Spinner right there. And then as far as some other options go, is you can run Axe Kick instead of lowering your defenses. It's still a base 120 power fighting move, but it's got a 90 accuracy with the effect of it can cause confusion onto the target, but the user will take 50% of its HP in recoil if it misses. So that is a little bit concerning. Close combat is obviously the safer one with the defensive debuff there, but you could run Axe Kick if you wanted to. Weirdly enough, you get access to Hurricane with this thing, but you would never want to run that. Now, Petal Blizzard and Poison Jab, those are interesting moves here as well. Petal Blizzard, it's a multi-targeting move right there, and it can hit both targets on the opponent's side of the field as well as your partner. So you could go for the Petal Blizzard if you wanted to. You could also run Poison Jab if you wanted to get around fairy types, and then that way you're still doing a good dent to them, especially after that Victory Dance. Now, as far as our item goes, with this, definitely go Focus Sash, and then that way you're going to live a hit, and then you can safely set up your Victory Dance. And plus, if you're not running Ice Spinner, you could run Psychic Terrain on here as well to keep yourself safe from the likes of Sucker Punch, and really any damaging priority move as well. Other moves here, like I mentioned, the Ice Spinner and Petal Blizzard, you could run Solar Blade, which is a physical solar beam. It's base 125 grass type damage, it's 100 accuracy. If you have Sun on the field, which this would synergize really nicely with a Chlorophyll set, you can just instantly fire it, and if not, it takes 2 turns to charge. You have the Petal Blizzard, like I mentioned, and here's the other thing too. You could use Petal Blizzard to set up your own Sap Sipper Bonds, and that's not a original idea to me. I actually saw that it came up on my subscription feed that Fufu2, he was talking about Hisuian Gudra with Sap Sipper there, and you could just stick Hisuian Lilligant next to it, go for the Petal Blizzard, and now you're increasing Hisuian Gudra's attack 1 stage. Haven't actually watched the full video yet, but just from that alone, like, there you go. Any Sap Sipper, like, case in point, I talked about Sawsbuck at one point on here. If you wanted to, you could probably do that to Sawsbuck. If you didn't want to run Chlorophyll and you want to run Sap Sipper on that, any Sap Sipper, you could get a 3+1 into their attack stat, and Hisuian Lilligant is one of the faster Pokemon to run. Now, I'm going to make a note here too. This is not a moveset. The item in the EV breakdown, that's all relevant to a different idea if you wanted to, but not an exact full of moveset, which we're going to get into this. We can do Grassy Seed plus Acrobatics. You set the Grassy Terrain. You could do this with Psychic Terrain as well. You have your seed, you get your seed activated, you get a boost to whatever defense stat that you're running. If it's Grassy Terrain or Electric Terrain, you're getting a physical defense boost. If it's Psychic Terrain, you're getting a special defense boost. You consume your item, and now you have access to a full powered acrobatics at 110 power. If you wanted to take that another step further, you could go Terra Flying, get stab onto that, or you could just keep it as is. And going back to the first part that we had here with the Leaf Blade and Poison Jab or Close Combat, is you could go Terra Grass, you could go Terra Fighting to gain double stab on either Leaf Blade, which does have a boosted crit hit ratio as well, or you can go Terra Fighting to double Close Combat's destructive capabilities. If you threw Poison Jab on there, you can go Terra Poison to gain stab. I'm not going to say Terra Ice, Ice Spinner, though. That's not a good idea, but I digress. It's still nice options to have. If you wanted to, you could go Terra Fire from the defensive standpoint, and then that way you can't be burned. But if you keep your grass typing, you also can't be spored, which is rather nice. And then some handy utility moves that Hisuian Lilligant does get as well that you could combine with some damaging moves here is you get access to Sleep Powder, which is discount Spore right there at the cost of lower accuracy. You can go with After You. So basically here, like the original Lilligant with Torkoal, once you have Sun on the field, you can go for After You, go ahead of them. You can go for Big Eruptions with Torkoal. Once a restricted format happens, you could do this with either Koraidon or Groudon, especially if we ever see Primal Groudon come back. We could go After You into Groudon and then go for Eruption, Precipice Blades, anything like that. Worry Seed is a nice little utility here because if your opponent's got something with a really annoying ability, you can just get rid of their ability, unless it's Golden Go, and then give them Insomnia as well. Now, I do have to look into how this would work with the Ruinous Treasure Pokemon, but that might be a fun workaround with their abilities, but I haven't really played around with Worry Seed too much in Regulation C, so I don't quite know the full dynamic there. And then another nice move here is Encore. If you've seen Jumpluff teams going around, Encore is a devastating move that can come from the Jumpluff because if your opponent decides they can set up in front of you, what Jumpluff would do is it would have the Chlorophyll already activated and then would lock them into that setup move with Encore. So same idea with Lilligant is you could lock them in. Like if you're going up against Annihilate, for example, if your Annihilate goes for bulk up, you can lock them into bulk up and then they can't do anything, especially if you've already taken out the 2 out of 4 of the Mons, then they can't switch out. You just keep locking them out with Encore. If they can't hit you, they aren't going to win. And then you just handle whatever Annihilate's partner is until it's only Annihilate. Then just keep locking them into Encore there, or bulk up, or whatever setup move it is with Encore, and just keep hitting them. So overall, Hisuian Lilligant's got a lot of utility. It's got a great typing. It's got Chlorophyll, which is a solid ability. And ultimately, I think it's going to be great to play around with. So I will see you down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this Turbo Flower in action.